Hi everyone. So hopefully you've had a chance to learn a little bit about your archetype energies and you've got a bit of an insight into the way you are. And so what we thought we'd do in this video is just give you a little bit more context now and background in terms of why we came up with it and how we came up with it. And actually originally I came up with the idea when I met Bev. I was working with Bev. We're both public speaking coaches for another company. And I was telling Bev that I really loved helping creatives be better at promoting themselves. But I sometimes struggled because many of them were just not very good at it. They weren't very good at talking about themselves. And I was curious about your experience being a music journalist.
And I said, oh, goodness, that's something that I'm so familiar with from all of the years that I spent interviewing musicians. And there were a select few who were absolutely brilliant in interviews. And Boy George comes to mind. He was always so superb at coming up with these pithy sound bites. But in the main, most of the musicians that I interviewed, it was a real struggle to draw their story out of them, and they didn't really see the need to tell a story or to really be able to articulate their passion or why they were doing what they were doing. They really felt that it was enough to make an album and that should speak for itself, and they really didn't see why they needed to talk about it. They really didn't like, most of them didn't like doing press.
Yeah, and my experience is that artists across the spectrum, they love making art, but talking about it almost devalues the experience of the art itself, and so they don't want to do it because they want people to connect with it in their own way. And that is a problem because essentially when the public are looking at finding new artists or music to relate to, what they really are looking for is a story that they can connect with in terms of emotionally how they can deepen their understanding of themselves. And it's hard for many people to do that without some sort of background information or story or understanding of your philosophy or what you stand for.
And also there's just so much noise out there now. It might have been okay, you might have got away with it in the 70s and 80s, but not these days. There's too much out there, too much information out there. So it's much easier to kind of get lost in the noise.
So you've got to learn how to kind of make an impact, stand out, know how you are different. And the archetype energies really help fast track that process, so you don't have to go through a really complicated system to think, why am I different? You can just go, there's an energy that I can relate to. How can I build on that natural energy? So how we came up with it is by doing a lot of observation. We looked across the industries. We observed musicians, we looked at film directors,
artists, writers, actors, people who had a sustained career, who'd been around for a long time, and we looked at, what was it about them that made them still be around after 20, 30 years?
Why is it that year after year we still love Kate Bush? Why is it we still love David Bowie? What is it about these megastars that captivates and keeps us hooked? And what we found was there was a consistency in the way they were promoting themselves. I mean, someone like David Bowie is constantly reinventing himself, but there is a still underlying what he does, a consistency, and that's what we identified, because there's a maturity, there's an authenticity in how they go about it boldly. And so we really just studied it, and we kind of grouped these different artists, and then we found that there were similarities in these seven energies that we came up with.
We really tested it out as well to see if we were missing anything. But we tested it on lots of different celebrities and artists, and also tested it out on some people that we know as well. And we found that actually the seven energies that was the basic set. And it really does work.
And there are some similarities. Like the maverick and the provocateur are quite similar, but they're slightly different. And I think for us, we've looked at sort of psychometric tests as well, where it looks at different personality types. And I think for us, artists are a slightly different breed. So a maverick is very different to a provocateur, even though there are certain similarities. So a maverick, in our experience, is somebody who just really loves to be different in their identity. They don't want to be the tradition. They want to be anything but the status quo. Whereas a provocateur might be happy to be with the status quo. They just like provoking debate.
Yeah, someone who just really wants to be controversial for the sake of it and just keep jabbing away. And they don't necessarily want to be popular because of it. They just want to provoke a reaction.
It's like a sport for them. Yeah.
So there's slightly different energy there.
Yeah.
And similarly, I think between a charmer and a talented every person. So the charmer is just incredibly personable, very likable, and so is the talented everyman. I call them every person because we obviously women as well as men. But so that there are some similarities. But with a talented everyman, that's someone who's just a real kind of salt of the earth, grounded sort of person that you can imagine going out for a drink with, even if they're super famous, someone like Ed Sheeran, you know. So, and it's interesting that we mentioned those two, isn't it, Nikki? Because those were like you lead with charm, and I'm lead with talented every man.
And it was interesting when I came out as charm. I kind of relaxed and thought, oh yeah, that makes sense. Often the feedback I get from people is like your warmth, your energy, you're so likable. And it made me think, that's all I need to be. When I do my videos, I don't need to be intelligent or I don't need to impress. I just need to be me.
Yeah, exactly.
And it gave me the permission to just relax and be who I am naturally, rather than try to be something special. And that, what I've noticed is I get a lot more interaction now through my blogs, because I think there's definitely a pressure that's gone. How about you, Bev?
Yeah, it's interesting because this is not about, we're not telling you that we're trying to box you in by giving you labels here. But because when I found out that my leading energy was the talented everyman, I was a bit like, oh, that's a bit boring. And I thought, well, actually, let's just look at this for a moment. If you think of someone like Ed Sheeran, I mean, goodness, he's so incredibly successful. And so just being a kind of man of people doesn't stop you being really successful. It just allows you to be more of who you are. It allows you to be more natural, more genuine, more authentic. And that's what we're talking about here. So I then thought, oh, actually, yeah, it's okay to be like that, to just be that person that everyone can relate to. And I think that's a strength.
And it's part of the appeal that people go, God, yeah, Ed Sheeran, he could be somebody I could have a chat with in the pub and I wouldn't feel intimidated, because because he's so normal. That's the attraction of somebody like Ed Sheeran. So how did it change you then, Bev, knowing that was your archetype?
It's a bit like you. I think I just felt like, oh, it's okay just to be like that. And actually that is a strength, because I know that I can get on with pretty much everybody. You know, I'm very good at connecting with all sorts of different people. And I think that's a strength. It's not something that's dull. I think I thought it was just a bit boring before. I thought, no, I want to be a maverick. And actually, I do want to develop more of my maverick side, because that's the archetype that I want to stretch into more.
Yeah. So as Bev just said, it's not that we're saying you need to stick to that archetype and not have any other archetype energy because that's who you are. No, we're not saying that at all. We're saying relax. There's one that's very natural to you.
Yeah.
And throughout the process, it's about also drawing out the different aspects of the energies so that you can also be quite colourful in your marketing and promotion, because it's a playful process, because you're uncovering different layers of your identity and your brand. So what we recommend now you do is have a look at some of the other celebrities out there that we suggested were in your archetype energy, and just have a look at what it is they're doing. Have a look at the kind of stories they tell, how they express themselves, and just see what you can learn from what others are doing.
Yeah, see if you resonate with it. Do you have a strong reaction against them? Are they artists that you like or that you don't like? See what the commonalities are. It's just a really interesting exercise.
And we'll be back soon to give you a bit more insight into how to use the archetype energies. Speak to you soon.
Bye for now.
Bye.